who gets to decide what is misinformation? And I'll tell you, it's not you. It's definitely not you. Then you fast forward to the last several days here, and you had John Kerry meeting with the World Economic Forum. We're going to bring good friend Amy in here in a second, but meeting with the Economic Forum, and he's caused quite the stir over some of this commentary right here where he talked about free speech, First Amendment being a roadblock to what the World Economic Forum wants to do. Take a listen.
And I think the dislike of and anguish over social media is just growing and growing and growing. And it's part of our problem, particularly in democracies, in terms of building consensus around any issue. It's really hard to govern today. You can't, there's no, the referees we used to have to determine what's a fact and what isn't a fact have kind of, been eviscerated to a certain degree. And people go and people self-select where they go for their news or for their information. And then you just get into a vicious cycle. So it's really, really hard, much harder to build consensus today than at any time in the 45, 50 years I've been involved in this. And there's a lot of discussion now about how you curb those entities in order to guarantee that you're going to have some accountability on facts, et cetera. But look, if people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just, hammer it out of existence. So what we need is to win the ground, win the right to govern by hopefully having, winning enough votes that you're free to be able to implement change. Now, obviously, there are some people in our country who are prepared to implement change in other ways, and
so
that's
you're
really
questioning
dangerous.
really if democracy can survive unregulated social media.
I think democracies are very challenged right now, and have not proven they can move fast enough or big enough to deal with the challenges that we are facing. And to me, that is part of what this race, this election is all about. Will we break the fever in the United States?
Okay. Lots to break down there. Thanks, John Kerry, for all of that. Joining us now is a good friend of the show, good friend in real life as well, national spokesperson for Parler, Amy Robbins. Amy, thanks so much for being here.
Well, it's great to see you. I'm just sad I didn't get to see you when I was in your neck of the woods.
I know.
Last week.
I know. Days ago, I was supposed to be hanging out with this good friend of mine, and someone else had different plans for my body and health. But we will do it again.
Good.
But man, I mean, talk about this. I mean, well, let me ask. I have a lot of questions. There's so much to talk about here.
There's so much to unpack here.
There's a ton. Are we at the point now where we can say, just to kick things off, where we're not surprised that people are saying this kind of stuff out loud?
Honestly, that was my first thought was, hey, he does realize that this is being recorded, and he does realize that there is a thing called social media, and this will get out there. And the fact that they're just like hiding in plain sight nowadays is kind of crazy. But when I heard this, the first thing that struck me was it was exactly this misunderstanding of freedom and liberty that made our founding fathers put the protection of free speech in the Constitution. And this is why he's missing it. He wants to talk about democracy. Well, guess what? Dissent and debate is an essential part of democracy that he's just completely forgetting.
It absolutely is. Well, and the thing, I mean, look, the thing he's right about is it is a roadblock. I mean, the First Amendment and Second Amendment are huge roadblocks to all of this stuff. But yeah, they never got how we were founded, and they never get now that they're literally replicating the type of tyrannical government that caused this whole great experiment known as America in the first place.
Well, I said this earlier. When I heard this, I almost wish that someone would create what I'm gonna call a tyrannical translator, so that real people can have, an understanding of what he's actually saying. Like, let me read this one part back to you really fast. When he says that it's really hard to govern these days. Okay, what he actually means is it's really hard to control all the people these days when, dang it, they keep criticizing us, or they want to listen to information outside of sources that we deem to be correct sources for them. So that is what we're talking about here. We're talking about a group of people who want ultimate control. There's no doubt in my mind anymore that this is what they're after. And it takes someone like John Kerry sitting down at the World Economic Forum, discussing it with other world leaders. Why are we even bringing in and involving other world leaders in our family problems here in America in the first place? They have nothing to do with our Constitution. Why are we involving them in this conversation?
That's a damn good question. I have no idea. Why are we spending all of our money? Why are we letting all these people help make decisions for us? It is such a broken system. But you're right. I mean, you talk about that kind of government. And he says, too, another part that he brings up is we have to win the vote to implement change. And those buzzwords maybe sound like just they're going to try and do their thing and the other side's going to do the other thing. No, what John Kerry is saying and the World Economic Forum is always saying is we have to take away free speech. We have to get rid of these pesky little free Americans who are roaming around and bring about the change that helps us do what we want to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is what he's talking. That's the definition of tyranny. We have to win insane.
And not only that, but they're terrified that free speech might lead to us getting dangerous ideas. I've heard them saying this over and over. People get dangerous ideas. The only dangerous ideas that are out there is the fact that, we pose a threat to their ultimate control and to their totalitarianism ideals, ideologies, and practices. And it's exactly why we must continue to fight this. It's exactly why you must not censor yourself. You must go out there. You must speak freely. You must continue to share your views, your opinions, and your beliefs, and just keep doing it. Who cares what these people in power are saying right now? It's not going to scare me. I know it's not going to scare you, and I really hope that it doesn't scare the people that are in your audience from doing the same thing.
Oh, they're crazy. It's not going to scare them one bit. I say that in the most adoring way possible. Well, I want to talk about Parler's response to this, but we talk about people that can't be controlled. I want to see what Tom Cunningham, fellow showmate, has to say here, and what your thoughts were on this, and any questions you might have for Amy, Tom.
Well, John Kerry lifted the veil on how the politicians on the left and these global elites feel about controlling information. Back in the day, the government could control the information through the media, and I'll start as an example. I'll start with the person I like to call the godfather of fake news, and that would be Dan Rather. As a reporter down on the ground in Dallas, he is the one who pushed Oswald acted alone, and then that become Walter Cronkite, repeats that, and that becomes, Oswald acted alone. There were no more shooters. Case closed. That's the end of it. Jack Ruby, the owner of the local titty bar, comes in and kills him in the garage, and the police are okay with it. Somehow, he slipped past security and was able to get in there. And then you go on to Watergate, where you had Woodward and Bernstein, doing their work, and that's another one with Woodward and how he got that job, and the biggest story ever falls in his lap when he had just gotten out of the Navy, and before teaming up with Carl Bernstein was writing about garden parties in the DC area. That's another story that we could get into at a later time.
Let's table
it. But Dan Rather is the one who is pushing that narrative about Watergate from the TV perspective. And then also when it comes to the famous press conference that he had with Nixon, and Nixon says, "Are you running for something?" He goes, "No, are you?" And that was sort of Nixon's downslide after he won re-election. And then you fast forward after that to the "What's the Frequency, Kenneth?" where somehow, Dan Rather is a victim of this weird hoax crime that nobody else knows about other than these two guys beat him up and started screaming, "What's the frequency, Kenneth?" where Dan made himself the victim. And then, of course, you go on to 60 Minutes, where he becomes the guy who has a forged document trying to make George W. Bush look bad, as if you needed a forged document to make George W. Bush look bad.
At the time you did. Yeah.
But the issue that they're having now is the fact that we have so much information at our fingertips and we can look up whatever we want, and especially when the government tells us something, because the United States government for the last, 150 years have been the largest purveyor of misinformation in our society. And now the veil is coming off. We all see the BS is going on with them, with, from the jab to the weapons of mass destruction to everything, of how much we've been lied to over the years. And they have to figure out how to put this genie back in the bottle so they can control the flow of information. So I'm sorry this is a bit long-winded, Amy, but my question to you and Parler is, how do we go about being able to be able to share our ideas without the fear of the government coming in and continuing to monitor everything that we do online?
We have alternative sources because, like he said, he wants a single source of information, and we all know who he would love to control that single source. So you have to have, it's like a multiple attack here. So you have to have multiple platforms and places that you can get those ideas and beliefs out. And so Parler is one of those solutions. It's a public forum that, obviously encourages people to go on to criticize the government, to criticize policies that are going on right now, to have discussions and debates about the best way to move forward. So you just have to go and find the platforms that you don't have the government's breathing down their neck, putting pressure on them to actually censor what type of information is going out on those platforms. Because as we all know, Mark Zuckerberg just came out and admitted that, that's exactly what was happening on Facebook. That's exactly, and that doesn't surprise any of us here. That is why Parler was created in the first place. It's why other platforms has now started to pop up, because they realize there's a huge marketplace for people that want to go share their ideas, and ideas that are different than what the government wants us to share. And so you just have to go and find those places, and then you have to just start sharing. Start putting your ideas out there into the public forum, because if you stay silent, that's when they win.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
Just one more question. This one's real brief. What was the feeling at Parler when, I can't remember his name, but the CEO of Telegram, when he got arrested and then also said that he was willing to work with certain governments to give them a backdoor into Telegram? What was the ripple effect through Parler when that happened?
Look, similar things happened during January 6th for Parler. And what they're talking about is actually opening up when what people need to understand is that while Telegram, under the guise of free speech, had a lot of illegal activity going on their platform. And that is going to happen when you have a completely uncensored, unmoderated free speech platform, when there are no community guidelines to follow. And so what people don't understand is that when there is illegal activity that goes on, like on a platform like Parler, we will work to actually help them find that information when it's illegal. But outside of that, we're not moderating that, we're not censoring that, we're not handing over any information, but we do make it really clear in our community guidelines that we do not allow for illegal activity to be taking place on our platform. One thing that we're standing really firm in is pornography. So we have chosen to take a stand against pornographic material being distributed across our platform, because we know other platforms have hundreds of millions of pornographic images, including child pornography, that's getting distributed on their platforms, and they're not doing anything about it. So if it's illegal to have that, consume that, and to distribute it, we're just not allowing it on our platform at all. We will allow for people to freely express whatever they want to outside of that, but we will not allow illegal activity to take place, because we do have a legal obligation to actually do something about it on our platform.
Yeah. No, well, I think that's, again, we've talked about some of this before, anyone who's got an issue with that, you're still banning something. No, stop it. There has to be a little bit of what's legal, what's not legal, which is, by the way, biblical too. What's right, what's wrong. And Parler opens it up way more than anyone, but there also has to be smart limitations. I think it's smart how you've done that.
I think to that point, though, that's where it really becomes important to have transparent community guidelines, because a lot of times conservatives fall into this ambiguous gray area with these ever-changing community guidelines on some of the bigger platforms. And then you're falling under what they want to prescribe as quote unquote hate speech, or, whatever however they deem that, they're then going to kick you off of their platform. So we're just really transparent. You can go in before you even sign up for Parler, and you can actually see what our community guidelines are and what we stand for. And, then it's not ambiguous. It's not like a gray area. So that is one thing that we wanted to try to make different, is that people that sign up actually can go and read that and have transparency in that.
Yeah. I just think it's super important. Because here's the thing too, we were talking about this, earlier, and sadly the I already forget when I said it, but the reality is so many too of these other platforms that are out there. You guys have made it clear who you are, what you're about, positivity, different ideas.
Yep.
Different ideas are welcome. I think people would be shocked if they knew who was behind. In terms of money, in terms of tech, in terms of some of it nefarious, some less nefarious, some of the platforms that are out there that people are like, oh, this is the best one. This whole problem too is so, and I'm not asking for you to say names or any of that kind of stuff, but I just think it would be surprising for people. Everyone understands Facebook, YouTube, and we can obviously lump in Instagram there, has issues because that's what they've done. But there's so many other platforms who I think just get it wrong so much, and some of the people behind them aren't exactly who they say they are, or at least there's parts of it that aren't what they say they are. And that's, I know from just knowing lots of people in the industry, and so do you. I hear stories all the time, and it's so frustrating. It's like, them too? Like, really? And that's just a really frustrating thing. But and it sounds like a huge sales pitch here. I am pitching Parler. I think you should go back to Parler. It's there. But honestly, I know the people at Parler, and I know about a lot of the people and/or know the people at the other platforms. And there's a lot that just aren't being real with their people.
Yeah. Well, that probably is true on a lot of platforms, but the partners at Parler are really wonderful. I think it speaks volumes when one of our partners is Jaco Boyens, who is one of the best known anti-human trafficking fighters out there. He has a wonderful ministry. He's one of our partners. He is one of the driving forces behind why we made that stance on no pornography. He is just a very valued member of our team. And so for us to be able to take stands with somebody like that who has a long-standing history of fighting human trafficking, you can really start to trust like what the intentions are behind the platform. And I would be remiss if I missed the opportunity to let everybody know, as we're talking about alternative platforms here, while we have the public forum space for you to go on and have those discussions and express your ideas, we just launched this week, Drew, PlayTV. And we are so excited about PlayTV because now content creators who are actually trying to get out there, like yourself, make a show, put their videos out there in long format. A lot of people have found themselves either deplatformed completely or demonetized. And we wanted to provide an alternative to those platforms that we can say, come, you found a home in PlayTV. We're going to give you not only expanded audience reach where your message will be able to get out there, but we're also going to give you some really neat new monetization opportunities as well as giving you the ability to be in full control of your brand. And so we're really excited about that. If you are a content creator, especially if you found yourself in a space where you have been deplatformed or demonetized or found it hard to get your message out, come on over to PlayTV. The web version is available right now, but the app version is going to be available here in just a couple of weeks. So you can go to playtv.parler.com and check that out.
I love it. I'm so excited about that too for a lot of very obvious reasons. We've faced a lot of uphill battles here. And I also love, I've had the chance to talk to a lot of your people about it and what they're doing and what the plan, where it is now, where the plans are. And it's just so cool. I don't know what I'm allowed to say and not allowed to say, but I will just tell you it's so cool. And it has the people in mind. I mean, it really just does. So many cool features with it. I'm pumped about it. I think other people will too. So definitely check it out. PlayTV.parlor.com.
Definitely check that out. And I did want to go back really fast, just for people that are struggling, just back to the John Kerry comments really fast, the people that are having a hard time articulating why our First Amendment is so important and why it has to be fought for. We have a really great resource out on our website right now. It's parlor.com. It's in our newsroom, and it is Parlor's response to these comments. And so it does a really great job of backing up the history of what has happened, what history has shown throughout the generations in different countries around the world when free speech is suppressed, how that ushers in totalitarianism. And so if you're just really kind of struggling with, well, why is this important and how do I talk about it to my friends? Go to parlor.com, check out that resource, because it's going to give you some great information that can arm you when you get asked these questions.
Absolutely. No, that was everything on Parlor News is great, and that particular article was great. It absolutely is. Everything you guys are doing is great. Amy Robbins, thank you so much for being here.
Drew.
Thanks for all that you guys are doing. And I promise next time you come through town, I'll get my stuff together. And we'll see it.
It's a deal. It's a deal. Thanks, Drew.
You got it. Have a great day. Thanks. We'll have you back real soon.
You too.